Hello everyone, good afternoon. We're going to start with conference number 15, Ego, Personality, and Essence. In this conference, we are going to analyze and explain the different aspects that we have, which are just our trapped conscience, the 97% of bottled up conscience that is our ego, the personality that is the appearances, and the essence that is our conscience. So we are going to explain these three aspects, and so you can see each one of your actions and reflect when is manifesting each one of these elements. So let's start. So the aims of this conference is to know and to distinguish the activity of each one of these elements, to learn and to observe our actions, to know when we are manifesting our legion of defects, that is that obscurity, that wisdom of evil that is trapped in our defects. When is the force of the appearances, the superficial part of us, that is the personality, and when is our conscience, that is the 3%, which is composed by wisdom, justice, and love, the three forces of our awakened conscience. So there are three types of acts that we have to notice. So the acts of our ego are recurrences, are actions or events that are going to repeat once and over again in the different existences that we have. We have the right to 108 human existences. So in each one of our existence, if we don't eliminate the different defects that we have, anger, gluttony, lust, vanity, greed, they are going to be repeated once and over again because we didn't consciously eliminate them. The accidents that are actions that we perform with our conscience totally slept. For instance, we are totally distracted, we are thinking about something else, and we are walking down the street and we trip and fall down and we hurt our physical body. So that's an accident, but it's because we were walking down the street with our conscience totally slept by our thoughts, by our anxiety, thinking about the future, thinking about what we are going to do, and we didn't profit the instant, live the instant in totally inner silence. So that causes accidents and also can cause recurrences. That is, when we feed our ego because of that, and we generate new recurrences. And our conscious acts, that are when we awaken our conscience and we act according to the 3% of justice, wisdom, and love. We act in a correct way in order to do things that are useful, truthful, and fair, things that are going to have a positive effect in the awakening of our conscience, things that are going to help us and help mankind as well. So those are conscious acts. So we are going to study ego, and we are going to take a look at the different names that ego has received. That is the wisdom of evil. We can know the forces of ego as ourselves, or the different fractions of our conscience that is totally fragmented in the multiple details of the anger. There are egos of revenge, there are egos of rancor, there are egos of insulting, of violence, of being totally aggressive. There are the different fragments in which our conscience is trapped. So those are the selves, or the egos, the psychological aggregates, because our psyche is divided into these parts. There are aggregates because we in our inner world, it's like we have different people talking to each other, generating inner chats, and our conscience cannot be in total state of concentration. That is when we do things with our conscience centered in the action that we are performing. So the aggregates don't let us act in a unique and authentic way. So there are also called defects, errors, temptations. They are our desires. They are the tests that we need to pass in order to acquire a conscious will, the will of just acting according to what is useful, something that doesn't destroy us and doesn't destroy people around us. Our wishes, our instincts, these are our addictions, are the psychological defects, the ways to be of myself. There are the different creations that we have done with our energy. We have mistakenly used our energy to feed anger, to feed gossip, to feed different aspects of our conscience that is totally in a unconscious way. It's totally obscure. There are known as sins in the different religions, because there are things that hurt ourselves and hurt people that surround us, the red demons of Set, devils. There are parts of our conscience that are trapped in darkness. So they are ignorance, inner darkness, injustice, suffering, pain. There are our memories, because when we retain what we do by the force of instinct, we tend to have that memory of what happened, and we tend to repeat unconsciously our mistakes when we don't know how to fix them. So, and we don't know how to escape from them. So the trapped consciousness, that is the force of that darkness acting and stealing our energy, our mental energy, our emotional energy, our instinctive energy, sexual energy as well. Mechanical memory, that is when we do things in a mechanical way, our routines, our habits that we have mechanically just done in our life, our ways to act in an unconscious way, and our concepts. Our mind tends to fabricate those ideas in which we have believed along our existence, but without reflecting, without meditating, without understanding anything. We just act in that way and we assume that is correct. So how did our ego appear? Let's talk about the origin of all those mistakes. All that trap psychic energy is they arise because of the non-transformed impressions in any of our existence. For instance, we have fabricated the defect of vanity. This addiction of or that fixation that we have elaborated because of the impression of beauty of our physical body. Our physical body is just an envelope, a shell in which we are bottled up. It's nothing that we have to worship or to be totally fascinated and hypnotized by our physical body and its shape. But we have fabricated that prototype of beauty and that concept of vanity. We have also the fear of aging, of being wrinkled, of being fat, of being our physical body totally in a condition of being old. So those egos of vanity have elaborated a beauty concept, a prototype of beauty, and we have a lot of defects surrounding that fixation with the prototype of beauty. We have the ego of beauty, the ego of what is ugly, and we have created many concepts and many ideas around that desire of being beautiful, or having an impression of attraction towards our physical shape. So this is an example of that impression that hasn't been transformed. So that impression of the prototype of beauty, if we use the force of the meditation, we can break up that concept of beauty. We can reflect, and we can ask our Divine Mother to eliminate the different details of what we think is beautiful, what we think is ugly. Eliminate me this idea or that concept of being well slim, thinking that being fat is something ugly, or thinking that being old is something ugly, of thinking that being young is something that is attractive. All those ideas, all those fixations and concepts that we have because of our impressions of the prototype of beauty, and we can awaken the conscience that is trapped in the defect of vanity. So also that we have old and new defects. Let's talk about the new selves of, or the new egos that are created. We have the egos of the reality shows, of the television, of the cinema, of the technological devices, the cell phone, being totally addicted and enslaved to the social networks and gossiping in those elements of communication, the addiction to the video games, the publicity, the propaganda, the TV shows, the movies, the egos of the news. All those egos are new defects that are created in these recent existences, because before these times, before this period of our historical moment, there weren't they haven't invented the television, they haven't invented the cell phone, they humanity didn't know about the cinema. So those inventions that were created, and that we gave all our energy to those elements of entertainment, well, we trapped our conscience and we generated new psychological defects, new addictions, new ways to spend our energy, because we don't know what to do. We just want to fascinate, be hypnotized by new toys, by new elements of how to waste our time in something and useful to entertain us, to just cause new and fascinating and hypnotizing experiences, and to sleep more our conscience with these things that are just for entertaining and having a moment of pleasure. So those are recent defects. But let's talk about our causal egos, or the first psychological defects that we have created, that they are the 7 causal sins, or the 7 capital sins. They are the ancient defects. We created them when we created ego. we created anger, gluttony, pride, sloth, lust, envy, greed, and well, we have fragmented a lot our conscience, and we have created and increased the weight of these defects along our different existences. And there are many details of these psychological defects. For instance, greed. There is the ego, the detail that has an ideal of life of accumulating things, cars, accumulating objects of comfort, of richness, of status, having different places to live, and well, getting richer and richer with material objects. And there are many details. The egos that wants to establish business in order to generate more capital, the egos that want to just enslave people, exploit people, the egos of having companies, of having workers that work for us, different details of that defect. Also, there is our lustful egos, the different defects that wants to have pleasure with the fornication, with expelling the sexual creative energy, the degenerations in the sexual aspect. There are many details of what we think it's the order that we have to follow in order to have pleasure and have fun with the sexual aspect. But we don't know about the virtues that are trapped in that defect. We can find chastity, fidelity, love towards our couple, and using the sexual creative energy in order to create the superior existential bodies. So when we work in order to eliminate a really ancient defect, we are liberating great amounts of conscience that is trapped in the defect. Those amounts of conscience lead us to have more force, more faculties and powers that are trapped in the defect. But now we use them to serve our conscience. So other aspect of our ego is that egos evolve. We think that we are evolving in a mechanical way with the concepts of Darwin, that we are becoming better by the scientific advances, but no, our conscience is totally falling asleep, and our egos are getting better, because if we didn't eliminate them with our conscious will, with techniques of meditation, begging our divine mother, that is the portion of love that is inside of us, in order to eliminate each one of those dark aspects, well, they increase in each one of our existence. So with each existence, our egos increase their molecular weight. For instance, if in the last existence you had many recurrences of adultery, of having many couples flirting, egos that want to conquer other couples and feeling, well, totally a total state of pleasure, feeling bigger because we have conquered many people, and well, having messed up in a lot of affairs. Well, we feel that we are bigger because of that. We didn't eliminate that ego of lust. In the next recurrence, in the next existence, we are going to tend to be in more like that, like a Casanova, or what we call a Juan Tenorio, that is a person that is really fascinated by that aspect of flirting, of having a a lot of couples of having seduced and provoked sexually many people. And so if we didn't eliminate that, consciously begging our divine mother and reflecting why is it that we want to have many experiences and we consider pleasant just playing with that aspect of seducing people. If we didn't reflect on that, we are going to tend to do it even more in the next existence, because that is our conscience that is trapped and tends to be feeding on our energy even more with each one of our existences. So all egos can be eliminated if we do the exercise of meditation and we reflect on what we do, identifying each one of our mistakes, understanding why is it that I find so much pleasure doing this. This is damaging me. This is hurting people around me. Why is it that I have so much desire for this if it has total negative consequences to my physical body, to my conscience, to people that is around me. So I understand, for instance, if I have a defect of alcoholism and drugs, I identify that this is a defect because it's destroying my physical body, is destroying the cells of my body that is a temple. It causes me pleasure, but it's sooner or later going to cause me pain, and it doesn't lead me towards anything that is truthful, useful, and fair. I'm just wasting my energy in something that is totally intranscendental and is just having fun for a little bit, and well, losing my energy in a way that it's going to affect me sooner or later. I'm generating karma, and I am destroying my relationship towards my inner world, my being, and with people that surround me. So I'm going to eliminate each one of the details. The ego that thinks that everyone does it, so it's okay, that it's an ego of personality, of an aspect of the superficial things, the personality of the defect. So I'm going to understand, for instance, oh, this leads me to sleeping more. My conscience, it's generating me this. It's generating me distraction. It's generating me a negative effect in my mental body. Is destroying the nervous cells. Is making me lose power of memory, of imagination, of concentration, and it's totally destroying my relationship with my couple, with my family. So I am understanding what is the effect of this, and that is totally negative for my existence. So I am going to beg to my divine mother to eliminate each one of the desires, the justifications, and the bad will, or to eliminate this defect. So eliminate me this ego that wants to just feed this negative desire, to just not care about what happens next. The ego that wants to evade problems with this defect, and the different details that you can remember. All egos can be eliminated. If you can eliminate one, all of them can be eliminated in the same way. You just have to remember the different details and justifications, the desires that you feel for feeding the defect. If it's, for example, the ego of arguing, the ego that wants to fight, you are going to remember the different ways that you have to be when you are feeding that defect, the ego that wants to shout, the ego that wants to blame the other person, the ego that wants to take revenge, the ego that feels rancor, that keeps thinking about the problem, that keeps blaming the other person, the ego that feels guilty afterwards, that wants to say, hey, I'm sorry, but doesn't change the way he acts or she acts. You need to understand all the details and then back to your divine mother, eliminate me, this and that. And the psychological defect that you have is going to disappear, even if it's a really big one. So all the defects, violence, the defects of hate, the defects of greed, the defects of lust, the defects of vanity, of pride, all of them can be disintegrated with this technique. So ego generates recurrences. A recurrence is an action that is going to be repeated in everyone or each one of our existences. So all of our existences have the same scenes that are going to be repeated because we have the same psychological defects inside our psyche. So we have the same destiny that repeats once and over again by the cause of our ego. But if we fight against those egos, if we use the technique of meditation and the elimination of our ego, we can change that mechanical law of the recurrence and transcend that problem that we had or that negative event. For instance, let's take an example. In one of your existences, you have the recurrence of fighting against your couple, arguing, shouting, screaming, yelling, even being violent, and then you ended up evading this situation with just taking a drink. You think that you are going to relax, you think that you are going to solve your problem or just release that tension that caused the situation with a drink, and you end up with the recurrence of losing your physical body in an accident with the defect of alcohol. So that is the recurrence. If you have that recurrence in your life, you can change it, you can transcend that. So each ego brings bills and charges to pay. So if you have that recurrence and that karma, for instance, of physical death, you can eliminate these egos of arguing, shouting, discussing, having losing your harmony with your couple, having a lot of tension in your love life. So you can eliminate those defects, and you also can eliminate the defect of alcoholism, the defect that wants to evade the situations, that wants to release tension just drinking and thinking with that you're going to evade the situation or just liberating tension. Well, you eliminate those details and you are going to transcend. This is no longer going to happen in the existence that you are living. This event is not going to present again in the existence that you are living, because you have already understood the defects that manifested in the scenes. And when the actors that are the egos have died, have been eliminated, well, there is no scene. The scene is no longer going to be repeated, because your conscience is not going to be bottled up in those mechanical reactions, in those negative ways to being, and you are already have going to understand the defects that were manifesting. So another aspect is that ego is desire, and when you liberate the darkness of that psychological defect, when you liberate the the portion of the essence that is bottled up in that psychological defect, that wisdom of evil, that inner darkness. Suppose that you eliminated anger, the ego that wants to shout, to scream, to yell. You're going to find light that is wisdom. Ah, this is not useful. I'm not going to solve my problems by yelling, by bursting into mechanical reactions of violence. This is not going to lead me anywhere. I better come out with a smart solution, a conscious solution, in order to transcend this problem. And the fire, that is the ability to do, that is love. I better do something useful with my energy. I am going to create the existential bodies with this energy, that is fire. I am going to ascend it and create each one of the existential bodies of my being. I'm going to give some love to mankind, the understanding of this defect of hate. I'm going to share that knowledge with the rest of the world, in order for people to eliminate their own anger, their own frustration, their own mechanical reactions like yelling, shouting, screaming, being violent. So I'm going to share that wisdom with people. So that is the ability to doing something to help mankind. So when our conscience is liberated from that defect, we can do things that are useful and that are fair. That we are doing inner justice, and we are liberating our conscience. We are no longer going to be with our conscience asleep with this defect. And we are going now to talk about the second aspect, that is personality. The personality is acting in the same way, imitating what the other person does, being fascinated with the appearance, with the superficial, just trying to be impressful to people, to be liked, to be accepted, to fit. I am going to act like everyone acts. That is the force of personality. If people say, hey, drinking is something that everyone does, let's do it. So personality says, okay, I'm going to be liked by people. I'm going to be accepted socially. I better do what everyone does. If people just gossips around the social networks, I'm going to do the same because this is normal. Everyone does it. That is the force of the personality. Being the same as everyone, doing what everyone does, being liked, being accepted, being totally recognized, being with agreeing with the prototypes of just what existence is. The objective of our existence is just to have a lot of recognition, status, a lot of money. That is the force of personality. Having a superficial objective in life and thinking that with this we have accomplished all our goals, but we are doing something just that has no is not transcendental. Is only by because of the force of a moment of pleasure, a moment of just thinking that our existence have accomplished an aim that was momentarily. For instance, being rich, we are not going to take when we die. We are not going to take any of our material things to the other side. So this is only something that is for one existence. So the different types of personality, let's talk about it. We have the aspect of the passive personality that is serving our being. It's receptive. Passive personality is when we have an identity, but we are not fascinated, we are not hypnotized, but that, superficial and ephemeral identity. Everyone has a name, everyone has a sexual identity, being a woman, being a man, everyone has a nationality, everyone has a physical appearance. There are many people that have a profession and activity in order to gain uh, the subsistence, the material subsistence in this existence. mm, some people have academical titles, academical degrees, our social status, but we are not. When we have a passive personality, we are not fascinated by those circumstances. We are not hypnotized by those circumstances, and we don't think that that is our identity and that is the real thing. It's only a condition in which we have to exist in this physical body. But it doesn't, cloud our conscience and sleep our conscience. But the active personality is the opposite. It's serving our ego and gives more energy to the psychological defects that we have, because we are totally fascinated because those circumstances that we have. For example, if we have an ego of pride because of our nationality, we can have we can feed the defects of xenophobia, of racism, and those defects that we have in our inner world that are total darkness. But if we have the personality because of being totally proud of our nationality, we are going to defend that, and that is going to feed our egos of xenophobia and racism. It's an example. For instance, if you have an active personality and you're a businessman or a businesswoman and you're totally proud of your profession, you think that that is your objective in life, that you're really intellectual and you have accomplished many degrees, well, that serves to feed the egos of superiority, of intellectualism, of being totally proud and judging people for not being prepared in a university or having those titles that you think are the best and the objective in life. So now we are going to talk about what is the essence. The essence is something that is really different from our ego and our personality. The essence is the 3% of justice, wisdom, and love. Something that is beyond all superficial aspects, is something that is immortal, is the real and truthful aspect, something that is not going to pass away with time, and is the truth identity of our being, the real and immortal in each one of us. For instance, everyone knows what we feel when we experience truthful love, when we experience wisdom, and when we do inner justice. It feels like we are vibrating in a superior aspect, that we are being totally well, awakening our conscience, that it is the power of our intuition, of our inspiration that comes and manifests through us, because we are just acting in a conscious way. Is the fire and the wisdom that is trapped in our defects, but it becomes liberated with the inner work. And all of us, we have the 3% of awakened conscience. We have justice, wisdom, and love. When we do something to hurt people, we feel in our heart that we are acting in a wrong way, that we are destroying us, that we are destroying other people. So the essence knows it all. It knows when you are just destroying, and the essence is the part that is not going to lead us to destroy, but to create what is real inside of us. So when we uh, direct our attention to our inner world and we see all that bottled up conscience in the egos of hate, of being ironical, being sarcastical, insulting, being violent, being lustful, all the egos of greed, the materialism, all the egos of vanity, of pride, of being sober, uh, all of that, and we take a look to that in our inner world, we perceive that it's urgent to work inside ourselves and to awaken the 100% of conscience that is the truthful object in our existence. So it's urgent that we meditate, reflect on each one of those defects in order to awaken our conscience and liberate all the essence that is bottled up in that 97% of trapped conscience that is in our ego, so we can liberate more and more essences that we have trapped in our psychological defects and unite our being, achieving the sacred individuality that is the 100% of awakened conscience. So the 3% is justice, wisdom, and love, and the work to do is liberating the 97% that is our ego, eliminating each one of our different aspects of being a thief, of being exploiting people around us, lying, cheating, all of that. We have to eliminate it in order to acquire a 4%, 5%, and acquire at last the liberation that is the 100% of awakened conscience. So newborn babies have the 3% of conscience awakened. When we form our personality until we have 7 years, when we are 7 years old, all our personality is formed. All those personality is an electropsychic vehicle, an magnetical vehicle through which our egos are going to enter and manifest. So newborn babies have this 3% totally awakened, and when we create totally our personality, when we are 7 years old, our 3% of conscience is going to fall asleep. We are no longer going to be able to hear so clearly and loud the voice of our conscience, the voice of what is love, justice, and wisdom. And we are no longer going to be aware of what's happening and what's going to happen with our destiny, the egos that we are going to feed, because our conscience is going to be totally asleep when we fabricate that vehicle that is the personality. When we fabricate personality and when it's totally created, manufactured at the age of 7 years, our egos are going to manifest with their full power, and we are no longer going to have that innocent aspect that we had before, when we had our 3% of conscience when we were babies. So it's urgent to keep awakening our 3%, working in meditation, eliminating the defects that we encounter that trap conscience in anger, lust, in that greed, all of our defects that cloud us and sleep our conscience. And also, I'm going to give an example in order to distinguish which is the action of the personality, which the ego, and which the the force of our conscience. For instance, uh, a young woman is a young girl is going to be invited by her boyfriend to go out on a date, and the boyfriend is going to propose to have sex. And the mother of the girl has said to the girl, be careful, because if you end up having sex with that boyfriend of yours, you're going to become pregnant, and you're going to no longer have the time and the energy to have a career, to go to university, to solve your economical aspect. You're no longer going to have the opportunity to profit all those aspects that you have to live before being a mom. So don't have a sexual encounter with that person. And the girl goes out on a date with that boy and thinks she has acted in a conscious way, because she refused the proposed for having sex. And what do you think? In that circumstances, it was the force of ego, the force of personality, or the force of essences, the our awakened essences. The girl used her personality. Her personality told her to repress the defect of lust, that wanted to have sexual relationship with the boyfriend. He refused that desire. She refused that desire, and she said no to the boy. But she did it because just following what her mom did, not because following the counsel of her mom, but not because she wanted to just not have sex, because she felt pleasure and she wanted to do it, but she repressed the ego of lust in order to follow the concept of personality that said avoid getting pregnant before having a title or an academical degree, or going to university. So that was the force of personality, because if it was the conscious would have investigated astrally, confirmed that this boyfriend was only a person that wanted to have pleasure and have a sexual encounter just for entertainment, but this wasn't the person that was going to use sexual energy in a conscious way in order to create the vehicles, the existential bodies. He didn't want to create love in the sexual aspect, but only to create pleasure, and had a moment of pleasure and then just forgetting about her. And so it was the force of personality. The conscience would have done the practice of the astral projection and investigated who her real couple was, and refused because he had a verifying in the astral dimension. And the force of the ego was acting because of the pleasure, and maybe just having the sexual encounter, but just for having pleasure, fun, and just maybe feeding the sexual recurrence of fornication that would have been the defect. So this is an example for you to analyze when you are acting by the force of personality. Well, just all the concepts, all the fixed ideas that you have and that people tell you to do, and you follow what people say like a believer. Ego feeding your defects, your desire, your pleasure, and going from pleasure to pain, and conscience, what is truthful, what is fair, and what is useful to awaken our conscience. So this was our conference of ego, personality, and essence. Um, thank you uh, for all of you who have watched this video, who have dedicated a little time for sharing this moment with us. And have a good afternoon. Thank you for sharing with us.